Not quite trouble in paradise, but it's close. There is, as they say, growing concern among Democrats about the future of the president's agenda. Politico sums up the challenges this way, and we quote, Senate Democrats are publicly divided over infrastructure strategy. The caucus's most conservative senator openly rebelled against the party's signature elections bill, and two of Chuck Schumer's members keep clashing on military sexual assault reform. There's a growing feeling on the Hill that Democrats are already running out of time to deliver on years of promises. Thought-provoking. Meanwhile, if Democrats lose the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell is signaling he will block any Biden Supreme Court picks in 2024. He told the conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt it is, quote, highly unlikely he'd allow a confirmation vote in an election year. Back with us again tonight to talk about all of it, Cornell Belcher, Democratic pollster who worked on both of President Obama's campaigns and with a number of House and Senate Democratic candidates, and A.B. Stoddard, veteran Washington journalist and associate editor and columnist for Real Clear Politics. Good evening and welcome to you both. A.B., I'll serve you a kind of question salad to see which one makes you bite. How are the Democrats doing at handling McConnell in the minority leader role? Do the Democrats have the right majority leader for these times? And what happens if the Republicans win that majority back?
Well, Brian, it really doesn't matter who the majority and minority leaders are when you do not control a majority of the Senate. You preside over it and you control the committees. They have been able to get a few things out using this procedure everyone now knows as reconciliation with 51 votes as the vice president breaking the tie. But it is a chamber where you need 60 votes to get anything through. In the House, they have a 4-seat majority. So the Democrats are just going to have a very difficult time looking past the COVID relief bill at passing any of the things that they have promised to progressives. And to the voters who turned out, who don't usually turn out in midterm elections and who are not likely to turn out next year, to help them hold on to power. If the Republicans get the House, and I think that they probably will, and possibly the Senate, you're going to see Mitch McConnell stick to his threats and warnings that he controls the Supreme Court, and he'll lock down the Senate and not approve any of the president's picks if he wants to. And on the House side, you will see a push by MAGA world to impeach Joe Biden for any various and sundry reason in retaliation for the 2 Trump impeachments. Some of them will want Trump to be speaker because the speaker does not have to be a member of Congress. And there is quite a hellscape to imagine in terms of what we're looking at as we look at the 2024, down the lane at the 2024 election, and whether or not you're going to see majorities of Republicans in Congress refuse to certify a Joe Biden reelection should he legitimately win again.
So, Cornell, as the Democrats watching head for their nearest available window, do you concur with any or all of that? And have you any good news for them?
Well, I'm going to be well, that's a really frightening scenario that was just laid out, although I don't think it's that far-fetched. But I think there's a couple of things that are happening that I think are fundamentally different. One, I think Schumer does have to give these 10 senators who are working on bipartisanship a chance, right? You know, Joe Manchin just praised Senator Schumer for giving bipartisanship a chance. You know, Senator Romney is talking about, look, just be open to the conversation. So I don't think he can just shut that off and shut that down. I think you do have to give bipartisanship a chance, but also the clock is very much still ticking. But I will pivot back to the point you made earlier about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell saying that he's not going to allow a Supreme Court pick. by Biden, because I think it encapsulates what's wrong with Washington. And a lot of it has to do with Mitch McConnell, right? You know, Mitch McConnell, who's basically saying, I don't care what the Constitution says. I don't care what the norms and the rules and precedent of the Senate says. I'm not going to allow this to happen because I'm about power more than I'm about sort of, you know, upholding the Constitution and rules and laws. And this is a consistent pattern. This is more than anything. This is why the Senate is broken. This is the man who said, I'm 100% against Biden's moving his agenda. And as someone from the Obama world, I remember very clearly Mitch McConnell saying, you know, my number one priority is make Barack Obama a failed presidency. So, you know, this is the thresholds that Democrats have to try to get over in a time where many Democrats and many voters, Brian, still want Democrats to try to be bipartisan, even in the face of Mitch McConnell and what he's doing in the Senate, really to tear bipartisanship apart.